Hey guys, what's up? I'll tell you. Welcome, Chaps Fantasy Chat Thursday nights at 8. I took last week off, and it's weird when you take a week off after you've done it for um, a while because you miss it, and you start to think about what you would have said. So I got a lot to talk about tonight. But it's getting to that time of year where we're I think a couple weeks up coming up on the All-Star game. So we're looking at the stretch run. We're looking at what we're trying to do to set ourselves up for the second half of the season. So tonight I've been kind of drilling down pretty specifically up to this point in the year. Tonight I wanted to keep it a little bit overview minded and talk about second half hitters that you believe in, that you're buying, and those that you don't trust as well. It's an interesting time of year because I like to reflect around midpoint, see where I'm at. I'm having a pretty good year this year with my teams overall, but it's not too late to make moves. And if you are able to identify what your team needs, it doesn't matter if the outsider thinks you lost the trade. If you need stolen bases and you go out and you get, a stolen base asset, even if you lose the trade, you win what you're trying to accomplish. I also want to talk about just some current events because there's a lot of cool stuff going on right now, right? We have Wander Franco come up. I'm going to talk a little bit about him. I want to talk some about, statistics. We're getting to that time of year. People that know me know I like statistics, and that you can read a lot into it if you know how to break it down properly. Talk a little bit about some statistics tonight, and then I want to talk a little bit about the Pujols and the Angels breakup and who's winning that scenario. Like I said, there's a lot going on, but let's jump right into it, shall we? First off, I do this every year, but this year when I did it, it really was it jumped out to me. Run differential is an interesting statistic to me. When you look at run differential, it tells you a lot of things. It tells you what your good teams are, who the teams that you want to target players from should come from that thought process because they're going to score more runs on, from the pitching perspective, they're going to hold teams down. Not to belabor the point. When you break down the, sorry, I'm trying to multitask if that's not evident. When you break down the run differential this year, by far, the best run differential in the major leagues is the Houston Astros. Guys, they're at a whopping plus 135. And I want to put that into a little bit of perspective because it sounds inflated. It sounds like a lot. Well, it is a lot. So, for perspective, Houston Astros run differential plus 135. The number 2 team, the San Francisco Giants at plus 101. That's 34 few. And I know that's, that doesn't really say it. Guys, I want to read down this list further to further accentuate this point. The Dodgers are third at plus 96. The White Sox are fourth at plus 86. Then come the Padres at plus 79. Then come the Rays at plus 75. That's sixth. So we're talking about doubling at this point, from first to sixth. Toronto's seventh with plus 46, and then 6 other teams are in positive run differential on the season. I'll say that again. There are 13 teams total in the positive and run differential in the major leagues. I'll do the rudimentary math. That's 17 that are in negative. 17 of the 30 major league teams are in negative in run differential. 6 lie from 1 to 20. 1 through 7 are above 46. There are only 2 over 100, and Houston has 135. That should tell you, as a fantasy player, you need to target those players going into the second half. So that's how you kind of want to approach this, right? Now, that's tough. I understand. I have Jose Altuve. If someone comes and asks me for Jose Altuve, I'll tell them to get bent. I'm not going to do it. But there are scenarios where you can get guys, Chas McCormick, Abraham Toro. If I were doing Fab Futures, we'd be talking about those guys. You can get parts of these teams that can help you, even from that lower part of that lineup. So if you're desperate, I did it. I had, in my main league, I can't remember who went down, but I had an injury replacement. Evan Longoria. No, it wasn't Longoria. It was another infielder. Doesn't matter. But I had a slot to fill, and I went out and picked up Toro. And when one of my main guys are off, I play him with confidence. So you can kind of take that into perspective when you're looking at, needing to fill in or you have an injury. You want to look at, for me, I'm starting in Houston, and San Francisco's another one because they play such a weird style of baseball. It's the difference is with San Francisco, it's not offense. Houston's pitching is really good, but San Francisco's offense isn't. Their pitching is amazing. All the way down the line, their pitchers do a phenomenal job. So it's very much, you're not getting free agent pitchers off of San Francisco. You can get bats from Houston. My point. So how's Houston doing it? I mean, that's, again, back to the point. San Francisco's doing it with their pitching. Houston's doing it with their offense, seemingly. You look at guys like Correa and Altuve and, Bregman until he got hurt and Gurriel. They've done it with the bats as well. Here's the scary part. You really haven't heard a whole lot from Kyle Tucker yet. You really haven't heard a whole lot from Jordan Alvarez yet. This team could get better, and they're going to be tough to deal with in the playoffs. There's no doubt in my mind that Houston will be there. I don't know. Randall, I want to know what the odds are on the Houston Astros going to the World Series. That's something I think I'd take. San Francisco's an interesting one, too, because if you think about it, their odds are probably pretty good. That you probably, you can win a large amount of money for not much playing the odds for San Francisco. Now, they're legitimate. They're not just hanging around. They're a good team. I watch them a lot. Chaps Fantasy Chat, Thursday nights at 8. Just like Ride the Bike, guys. Brought to you on iLogic Media. Draft for Upside, River City Media. You can find me at Chaps Fantasy Sports Group on Facebook. I'm happy to answer any questions. This is meant to be interactive, so if you guys have questions, feel free to jump in there. StreamYard sometimes doesn't give me immediate access, so if I don't answer you, I'm not ignoring you. I have it's a quirky system. I like it, don't get me wrong, but it's a quirky system. So anyway, how about this Pujols Angels divorce? Who's winning that, guys? This is one of those where I think both sides are making out here, right? The Angels are happy. The Angels are, 24 and 21 since they cut him. They've increased their production with, Upton and Taylor Wade and some of those other guys. They've actually gotten back to 500 and look like they are Thank you. San Francisco to win two World Series is plus 2,200. Astros is plus 950. I mean, when you look at the run differential statistics, to me, those are two really good bets. And I think it's that time of year when you could start making those assumptions. And I know San Francisco is kind of everybody's kind of like, are they real? Are they fake? We're talking about an organization when they do it right. They've proven a formula of success. So you look at that pitching staff, it's not to be joked around with. But back to Pujols and the Dodgers love having this guy. They fought their fair share. Thank you, Randall, for providing those numbers. They fought their fair share of injuries this year. And, Pujols is looking like a really good cleanup hitter for them. So since he's moved over to Chavez Ravine, he's hitting .263 with 6 homers and 16 RBIs in 26 games. That projects out. Get this, guys. That projects out over a full season. Now, I know he won't get a full season like this, right? To 38 homers and 100 RBIs. Put that into perspective. Those numbers, and I know it's just a projection, would have been better than any year that he had for the Angels. Here's the kicker about Albert Pujols, guys. This is what I want you all to understand when you're talking about going into the second half of your fantasy baseball season. All these teams are quitting, right? Everybody's saying, "Oh, I'm gonna duck out," and I get it. I've been on bad teams; it's gruesome. Albert Pujols is available widely. He's owned 4% in Yahoo, 6% in CBS Sports, and 18% in Fantrax. Just food for thought, guys. Just food for thought. Wander time, guys. We finally got it. Came up, and he has not disappointed. He has been every bit the athlete we knew that he was. I watched him the other night, the first night up, and I saw his homer, and while it was impressive, that's not what impressed me about Wander Franco that night. What impressed me the first time up at the plate, I can't remember who the heck he was facing. It was a good pitcher. Got out to an 0-2 count on him. Wander was down 0-2. And, it was Eduardo Rodriguez. Eduardo Rodriguez is having a bad year, but he's a good pitcher. He's having a bad year. But the thing about him is he's seasoned and he's poised. So, again, he got him out to 0-2, and then he started nibbling the outside. First, he started like 6 inches out. Wander spit at it. Then he came into 3 inches out. Wander spit at it. Came back. I think he threw an off-speed pitch, and he fouled it off. I believe I'm remembering this correctly. Long story short, he worked the walk in that at-bat. So, when I see this kid, and you look at what he was doing at AAA. 315, 8 homers, 30 runs and 35 RBIs in 39 games at Durham. 11 doubles and 6 triples, 5 stolen bases. He has shown already that his plate discipline, he is more advanced plate discipline wise than Vlad was when he came up. He might be more plate discipline than what Soto was. I haven't seen that yet. But I saw the other night enough to know that this kid belongs. This kid understands what he's doing up there. And he's not going to let the situation get bigger than it is. And that's what you want out of a 20-year-old, 21-year-old, whatever he is when he comes, 20 years old when he comes up. Wander Franco is not going to Jared Kellen again. He is not going to take a step back down. He will be productive at the major league level. If you are lucky enough to get him, you'll be happy with him. I'll be honest with you guys, I wasn't as sold at the beginning of the year with Wander Franco. I'm sold. He's everything that he's as advertised. So it'll be exciting to watch him. Fun stats. He was the youngest player to hit his first homer in the major leagues since Jurickson Profar did it back in 2012. 20 in 113 days. Jurickson was 19 in 195 days. And he was the youngest player to go deep for the Rays since B.J. Upton did it back in 2004. Wander Franco's been alive 32 days longer than Albert Pujols has been a big leaguer. Perspective's fun, isn't it? All right, guys. I thought I'd hate it. But I actually like the new rule enforcement. I tell you, I only say that because I watched the Scherzer Girardi game the other night, and I'm going to talk about it with Randall. Make sure you come back at 10, guys. Other angle, 10 o'clock, Chappy and RC. Good talk. We're going to talk some baseball. We're going to talk some football. But I want to talk about Spider Attack tonight. I actually like the way they're implementing the rules. Not let them get off the field, just doing real quick, courtesy. I feel like they probably need to start checking the catchers as well. Just a kind of a team huddle there before everyone goes back to the dugout. But I think they're doing a good job right now. And, the biggest thing that it's doing is it's causing these pitchers to play by the rules. And if that's what the main purpose is, then, I think they've won. Now, I do feel like, Scherzer had a really good point the other night. He said, ask Alec Baum about how 95 at the head feels. And he wasn't saying it like, tough guy macho. He's just saying he couldn't feel the pitch when he was gripping it. So I feel like the league should at least regulate some sort of uniform substance that they can use to get better grip on the ball. And I think that'd go a long way to kind of loosen that loophole there. So, but I do like it. I think it's caused for. It's so interesting, right? Because a guy like Shohei, he's like, I don't care, you just do it. I don't care. And then some of these other guys, you could tell who was doing it, right? Scherzer was obviously using something. Sergio Romo was ticked off that he got a homer hit again. But it's funny to see these antics, right? So it's going to cost for some good television, I think, and that's really, if we're just being honest, that's the end goal. So, how about let's talk about some rookies, right? Talk about Wander. Let's talk about the next guys. What's going on with these guys that everybody's kind of talking about, and when are they going to come up? Jarren Duran, someone you've heard me talk about quite a bit. Duran's he was a second baseman. He's now in the outfield for the Red Sox. Well, for the Red Sox AAA affiliate. He's they're slow playing him a little bit, and they're doing that because he has an opportunity to play in the Olympics. But this kid, it's not like center field has been currently Danny Santana and Kike Hernandez are filling center field for Boston. So it's not like, they're really being blocked. He's being blocked by either of those guys. Hernandez is probably more of a second baseman. The block really there is Christian Arroyo, right? Christian Arroyo is the one who's he's having a career year, and for that is causing probably lessening a bigger need for immediate playing time, because of his play. He's actually leading off quite a bit. He's already, he was a one-time big prospect for the Rays and then the Indians and the Giants. He's already got more career games at bats than he ever has. He's just 26 years old. And let's be honest, he's doing pretty well. So, it'll be interesting to see how they play that, because they really could use that speedster at the top of the lineup. And Durant is just that. What the problem is they want to give the kid the opportunity to play in the Olympics. And I think they will call him up if they absolutely need him. But if they don't have to, I think they want him to experience that brevity, whatever you want to call it. And I think that's a good move. I mean, it shows that the organization is looking out for the kid as well. But if he's needed, let me tell you, they'll have him up there because he's ready. He's ready. And he showed that in the Olympic trials where he performed, and he showed it at AAA since he's gotten back from the Olympic trials. The trials are the end of July, so July 27th through, I believe, the 3rd or the 5th, something like that. So at the latest, he'll be up after that. I think he might be up after that. He certainly belongs right now. And that's okay. Jaron Duran's got to keep watching. Keep watching him, guys. Bobby Witt Jr. is the next name that, really is kind of interesting to me. It seems as though he is the Royals not competing is allowing them to slow play Bobby Witt Jr. a little bit. And if they continue to struggle, I feel like he comes up post All-Star break and plays every day. Because the issue at hand is it's the shortstop. Bobby Witt Jr. is that organization's best shortstop right now. I said this at the beginning of the year. I said it often. I'm not a believer in Adalberto Mondesi. And he's proven he's not the player that everybody oogles over. So I think after the All-Star break, when after the trade deadline, let's put it that way, you'll see Bob Witt Jr. And I think he'll come up and he'll show glimpses. He'll compete. But when he gets up against the maturity of major league hitter or pitchers, he's going to struggle. He'll show flashes. But I think it gives him a great experience going into next year. So celebrate Bob Witt Jr. coming up. Here's a guy who I've been high on since he got drafted. But he's kind of flown up the charts this year. Hunter Green. Hunter Green he's Ebby Calvin LaLoosh, guys. Except he doesn't have a 5-cent head. He has the potential. He has the potential to be a generational player. Potential to be a generational player. But it's more than just potential, because stepping in the door, he already is coming with plus fastball. He threw at 104.3 the other night. 104.3. Only 5 balls have been thrown that fast since since they've tracked that statistic in 2008. 5 times has that happened. The other part about this is he has an arsenal. He has a wipeout slider. He's got a changeup, and he's added a cutter. His innings are going to be limited, but his Ks per 9 will be phenomenal. Watch for Hunter Green. He could be up sooner rather than later. Joe Adell. I wonder when Joe Adell is going to get the call up. He has done everything he's needed to do at AAA this year. He's hit 271, 16 home runs, 37 RBIs in 39 games. Last year he came up and was not ready, and it was pretty evident pretty early on. I don't feel like that's the same player that you're getting this year when he comes up. I think he comes up ready to play. I think he comes up ready to prove the coaching staff and management wrong. He comes up more mature. I think he's going to come up on some. People are going to remember. It's just like Jesus Sanchez. People remember last year's bad start. And they shy away from it. I think this year with Joe Adell, when he gets called up, you need to jump on him. And I said the same thing about Jesus Sanchez. I feel like these guys are ready for success this time this year. All right, I want to talk about some hitters, but before I do that, I do want to talk about some fun stats just real quick before we go into our buys and sells. Whit Merrifield. I talked about this last time I was on. He now has 5 more stolen bases than the rest of the league. He has 20 stolen bases. There's like 3 or 4 guys at 15. This is as of last night, I believe. If you're in a rotisserie style league and you can get a Whit Merrifield, he's totally worth it. Because if it's a 5 at the halfway point or close to the halfway point, you're talking about at the end of the year, I mean, maybe a 10 stolen base lead in a category that's tough to get assets for to begin with. That's big, and that's valuable. And maybe you get someone who understands that. But I'd say more often than not, especially if you're in a league where a team is maybe riddled with injuries and not doing well, try and get Whit Merrifield. That 5 stolen base gap is going to widen. Here's another fun stat. 5 players, as of the other night, this could have changed. I don't think so, though. 5 players have 20-plus homers on the season. Guerrero, Tatis, Ohtani, Acuna, and Matt Olson. Matt Olson, again, because he's out west, is having an MVP-type season. Hitting .302 with 20 homers. If you can get Matt Olson, you need to do it because everybody's talking about Vladimir Guerrero. Everybody's talking about Jared Walsh. Olson's going largely forgotten about. Now, you're going to have to pay for him because the owner sure knows about him. But people, how to say this? A strategic fantasy player would think, oh, I have Matt Olson at 304. He's probably going to hit about 270. I've got all of the good average out of Matt Olson right now. It's a good time to sell if I think he's going to hit 270. What I'm saying to you right now on air is I don't think he's going to hit 270. So you can go and buy. And you could sell that point. You really think he's going to hit 304? Just, you got to put lipstick on that pig sometimes, guys. Yeah, I just want to I got 2 points before I get to these fantasy flops, because that San Francisco, I just want to talk about. I've gotten to watch a lot of them lately. I have DeSclafani in every league, and I always watch him pitch. I've gotten to really like watching Kevin Gausman pitch. My buddy RC has Gausman. Those two pitchers are about as, I don't know how to say this, and not like they were good enough pitchers. And Gausman's been a couple places, and the Reds for DeSclafani. They were good enough pitchers elsewhere, but what they've done in San Francisco has been downright amazing. Kevin Gausman is an ace. His ERA is 1.49. He's striking out over 9 per 9 innings. 96 innings pitched and 112 Ks. This is the same Kevin Gausman that when he was in Atlanta. When he was in Atlanta, had an ERA of. Sorry, Atlanta's a bad example. When he was in Toronto or Baltimore, he had an ERA of 4.68. No, there it is. Atlanta, 6.19. He's not been his career ace pitcher. He's turned into that in San Francisco. Same thing with DeSclafani. His next win, he's 8-2, a 2.77 ERA. His next win will tie his career high. It's not even the All-Star break. Alex Wood's been good. Logan Webb's been good in spots. Cueto's been good in spots. This is a good team. Their defense is what makes them, though, guys. Make no mistake. When you're talking about San Francisco, they're as sound a defensive team as there is in the majors. And that's why I like that plus 2,200 RC. Pitching and defense. Everybody's going to gravitate to the offense and the homers. Pitching and defense. San Francisco's a good bet, guys. All right, I want to kind of go through these kind of quickly. Some of these kind of hurt. Fantasy flops. Jorge Soler. Drink. Jorge Soler, I drafted. He's going to be my DH in my money league. I dropped him like 2 months ago. I couldn't deal with it. He's hitting 181, 6 homers, 28 RBIs. He's got a WAR of negative 1.2. This is one of my biggest regrets on draft day. I drafted him knowing that he had amazing power, but he was also an injury risk. I don't think that's what we've seen this year. I think I think this is more of underperformance. I'll be honest. I don't feel like he's comfortable. And you know, I wonder. This is the point that I want to make about Jorge Soler. Kansas City's struggling, and Soler's playing himself into a trade scenario. What if Soler goes to the Yankees? I'm still not buying. This is the second half flop for me. But this is a scenario where if Kansas City continues to fail, Soler might find himself elsewhere, even in underperformance. Player 2, definite flop. Definite flop, and I love it. Remember when Yermin Mercedes was a thing? He's hitting 270 with 7 homers, 22 runs, and 34 RBIs. That was fun, wasn't it? So since May 15th, he's hitting 165 with 2 homers and 12 RBIs. 19 hits and 25 Ks. That's not good. In fact, it's so not good, he's not even playing regularly these days. So, the Yerminator was fun while it lasted. I'm glad it's gone. Let it go. Second half flop. This one hurts. Hurts. Bad. Byron Buxton. Numbers. 369. 10 homers, 21 runs, 19 RBIs, 5 stolen bases. Amazing numbers. What an amazing start to the year. This guy's shown you what he is. And I'll start by saying I was, and still am, a huge Buxton fan. But I can't trust him on my fantasy team anymore. Now, if you're in a dynasty league, maybe hang on to him. The value's still there. If I'm the Twins, as soon as Nelson Cruz retires, Byron Buxton's my DH. I just want him to hit. I know he's a phenomenal center fielder. I just want him to stay healthy because he can't right now. Now, I know what some people might be saying. He got hit in the hand. How is that, his fault? It's not, but it's just a reoccurring theme with him. It's a concern. It's funny when you do these lists. Couple guys I had on this list, but took off the list. First one, Elvis Andrus. Elvis Andrus is not having a great year by all accounts. I'm pulling it up right now. 228, only 5 stolen bases, 22 runs, 16 RBIs. But let's remember, he started off horribly. Terribly. And he was with a new team, so you kind of understand why there would be an adjustment period. The reason I took him off this list, though, I'm trying to get to it. Look at his month-by-month splits. And, of course, it's jumping me all over the screen. If you look at his month-by-month splits, April and March, he hit 151. In May, he hit 256. And in June, he hit 288. Now, most people don't know this about Elvis Andrus. He's a career 272 hitter. The reason I was an Elvis Andrus fan The reason I was an Elvis Andrus fan is because of the stolen base, right? You know, he's always been that 25 plus stolen base guy, and it's fallen off a little bit. But if you need speed and you're in a pickle, you can use that average to your benefit the second half of the season. He's hitting 288 in 20 games in June. Is that what I just told you? Sometimes these stats differ from site to site. I'll tell you. 288, yeah. Love it when a plan comes together. Buy Elvis Andrus, guys. You got to think he's comfortable in Oakland now. It's a pretty good team. I like him. All right. So I do want to do a few hitters that I'm buying. And gosh, this is hard. I had this, I've been watching a lot of the Angels. I got Ohtani, so I watch him a lot. But also, I like Joe Madden, so I don't know. I don't know if I like Joe Madden. I think Joe Madden's interesting. I guess that's a better way to put it. So I end up, like I say all the time, I end up watching late, and it's usually I want to see Ohtani hit or pitch. So I watch him a lot. The Angels have been playing pretty well. And it all is kind of predicated off of Justin Upton hitting in the leadoff spots. Hitting 476 since he moved to the top of the order. Mike Trout getting hurt was the biggest favor that he could have done for Justin Upton. And I don't think when Trout comes back, I don't think it stifles what Upton's done. John, I've been talking about him half this show. Welcome, by the way. Yes, I totally agree. The Giants, the pitching and their defense is a defense from the '80s. I mean, they are phenomenal on defense. Watching them is so, and I'll tell you, the closer, forgetting his name, is phenomenal. So yeah, no, I've talked about the Giants quite a bit. The thing about Upton though is I kind of feel like he's got to be the center of attention. And when Trout's around, he wasn't the center of attention. But once he gets going, he's good. So when Trout got hurt, he got to hit up at leadoff, and really he's definitely like that, right? Like I said, 476 since he's moved up. It's interesting though. I think when Trout comes back, now he tweaked his groin or his hammy. He was playing the other night, so it must not have been too serious. But that concerns me a little bit, right? But Upton's certainly one of these guys that when Trout comes back, should slot very nicely. I mean, he might stay in that leadoff position to be honest with you, and that makes for a formidable 1 through 5. Now, the next thing they got to get going is Rendon, but that's a different story. Hitter number 2 that I'm buying into, Amed Rosario. I'll tell you, it's interesting. The one thing that the Mets never really gave him a chance to do was hit at the top of the lineup. They always wanted him to bat 7th or 8th, kind of, figure it out down there. What the Indians have done, and they've seen it work very well, is they put him up at the 2-hole. And they let him kind of be a catalyst for that offense. And it's so funny because everybody remembers at the beginning of the year, the Amed Rosario that came up and was supposed to be second fiddle to, I don't even remember the kid's name now. Jimenez? Was it Jimenez? They sent him down. So, they put him out in center field. And it didn't work. But he started to get the hang of it. But then, they realized that the other kid wasn't going to work. And it's out. and when that failed, they brought in Rosario. And all of a sudden, that spot at the top of the lineup was open. And that's where Rosario is supposed to hit. So since May 8th, that's round about the time he got that job pretty much every day. 331 average with a 381 OBP. 2 homers, 23 runs, and 14 RBIs to go along with 6 stolen bases over 35 games. At that rate, he's on pace to steal 25-plus bases. John, you should come back at 10. Randall and I are going to talk about it. I thought the exchange between Girardi and Scherzer the other night was classic, and that's exactly what happened there, right? So he struck out. I can't remember who it was that he struck out, but Girardi saw him go to his head, and he called him right after the strikeout to check his stuff, and he lost it. So, I said earlier, and I'll say it again now, I think the referees or the umpires need to be checking the catchers as well at the end of the inning. And that'll go a long way in helping, mitigate some of that stuff as well, because there's certainly some things going on there too. I like the way Major League has done this. I think they should keep it the way they have it. Just keep having their little things. If there's a scenario, it's umpire's discretion. That's kind of how I'd approach it. Next hot bat. And these next 2 are teammates. And this comes down to the run differentials, right? So if you get a chance to get either of these guys, you should absolutely do that. Carlos Correa. Correa's been killing the ball. Over the last month, he's been one of the hottest bats in the major leagues. He leads all of the MLB with a 1.218 OPS. And his OPS is slugging plus on-base percentage. His OBP, his on-base percentage, is 491. 491. That's 50 points higher than Ronald Acuna. That's over the last month. That's ridiculous. I love Correa. I always have. He's fought a lot of injuries. They're all killing it, John. They're all killing it. So is Gurriel, right? So when you look at what Correa is doing, it's really interesting because it's a walk year. It's a walk year, and Correa is putting himself in every position. I think he's an MVP candidate. I think he inserts himself in the top 3 of that shortstop grouping by what he does this year. And that team is really tough. The other guy, I'm going to, I called this early on in the season. I called it the preseason. What a comeback Jose Altuve is having. It's a homer every night, it seems like. And, it's funny. He caught a bunch of that slack for the pitch stealing signs. And some of it might be warranted, but you're talking about a guy who's had a long and distinguished career. I said it at the beginning of the year. This isn't going to affect him. It'll affect him positively, and it has. Here's the thing. Oh, no, Ohtani's absolutely – we're going to talk about Ohtani a lot at 10 o'clock, John, so please come back if you're able. Appreciate it. Ohtani is absolutely the real deal. He's again, I left him off purposefully because I wanted to talk about him at 10 a little bit more at length. The thing about Altuve, though, His career high in home runs is 31 back in 2019, the cheating year. This year, he's on pace for 44. His career high in runs scored is 112, all the way back in 2017. He's on pace for 144 runs, guys. Jose Altuve at 31 years old or whatever, 31. It's not 31, whatever he is having a career year. One more guy, and I'm going to get off here. Please come back at 10 o'clock. Randall and I have a bunch of good stuff. We're going to talk football. We're going to talk a lot of baseball because, as usual, I got through about two-thirds of my notes tonight. I'm doing okay. But trust me, that's not including the notes I have for the other angles. So come back at 10 o'clock. Appreciate you. Oh, Acuna Jr. has been amazing. And yes, I'm buying him, right? You're talking about trying to squeeze in 5 or 6 guys. I wanted to go a little bit more obscure here because I don't feel like this guy's getting enough recognition. Brian Reynolds, 306, 12 homers, 41 runs, 38 RBIs, and a stolen base. People talk about, is he going to get traded? There's no way the Pirates can trade Brian Reynolds. Reynolds and Hayes are the 2 players on that team that aren't getting moved. They can move Moran. They can move Frazier. That's fine. They're not going to move Brian Reynolds, and they're not going to move Brian Hayes. They just aren't. You're talking about a kid who's 26 years old, and he's on pace for almost 30 homers. 29 homers, 98 runs. And here's the great part about it, especially in a dynasty-type format, he's got 20 doubles already. He's on pace for 63 doubles. He gets a little older and he gets a little stronger, hitting in that park with a little bit more protection. Brian Reynolds could be a 35 to 40 homer guy in the middle of a damn good team. So if you're in a scenario where you're in a keeper league and you got Brian Reynolds, you want to strongly consider and try to hold on to him. John, I'm going to talk a lot about Ohtani tonight. I've been an Ohtani and a Vladimir guy since the preseason. I've been toting these 2 guys. You're absolutely right. He is that's 1-2 MVP as far as I'm concerned. So thank you guys for your support. Hope you enjoyed the content. Thanks for chiming in, making it interactive. It's always fun when it's interactive. So Chaps Fantasy Chat, Thursday nights at 8 on iLogic Media. Draft for Upside. Excuse me. Big things coming up. Stay tuned for that. But come back at 10. The Other Angle, Champion RC. iLogicMedia.com. Thank you guys for your support. See you in a bit.